In this lesson, we will be conjugating French verbs in the past, present, and future tense. Commençons! In this lesson, students will learn how to conjugate regular French verbs in the past, present, and future tense. The skills acquired will be learning the basic conjugations for regular IR, ER, and RE verbs in the present, using avoir as an auxiliary verb in the passé composé, and using aller to conjugate verbs in the future tense. Introduction to French tenses. Why do we need to learn about different French tenses? Learning about different French tenses is important because it does not make sense to use only one tense when talking to someone about something that happened previously or something that is going to happen. Conjugating ER verbs in the present tense. Regular ER verbs include manger, aimer, adorer, jouer, and habiter. If the subject is je, the verb should end with an E. If the subject is tu, the verb should end with es. If the subject is il, elle, or on, the verb should end with an e. If the subject is nous, the verb should end with ons. If the subject is vous, the verb should end with ez. And if the subject is il or elle, the verb should end with ent. This chart shows all of the endings of a regular er ending verb. For example, Paul mange la pizza. In this example, Paul acts as an il, so the verb must be conjugated with an E ending. Let's practice. What is the correct conjugation? Nous aimer being the verb in the infinitive, le chanteur. Conjugating IR verbs in the present tense. Regular IR verbs include fini, choisi, and grossi. If the subject is je, the verb should end with is. If the subject is tu, the verb should also end with is. If the subject is il, elle, or on, the verb should end with it. If the subject is nous, the verb should end with iss, ons. If the subject is vous, the verb should end with iss, easy. And if the subject is il or elle, the verb should end with iss, ent. This chart shows all of the endings of a regular IR ending verb. For example, je choisis le meilleur chien. In this example, je is the subject, so choisir must end with an is. Now that you have acquired the skills you need, let's practice. What is the correct conjugation? Vous finissez in the infinitive form, votre devoir. Conjugating RE verbs in the present tense. Regular RE verbs include attendre, perdre, and vendre. If the subject is je, the verb should take an S ending. If the subject is tu, the verb should also end with an S. If the subject is il, elle, or on, there should not be any additional ending. If the subject is nous, the verb should end with ons. If the subject is vous, the verb should end with ez. And if the subject is il or elle, the verb should end with ent. This chart shows all of the endings of a regular RE ending verb. For example, on perd le jeu. In this example, on is the subject, so perdre must not take any additional endings. Now that you have acquired the skills you need, let's practice. What is the correct conjugation? To attendre, in the infinitive form, pour le bus. Conjugating regular verbs in the passé composé. In order to know how to conjugate verbs in the passé composé, you must know how to conjugate avoir. Je becomes j'ai, tu as, il, elle, on a, nous avons, vous avez, and il or elle ont. When conjugating verbs in the past tense, the order is the subject, the auxiliary verb, which is avoir, and the verb with the correct ending. An auxiliary verb is used to form tenses. ER verbs in the passé composé. Regular ER verbs in the passé composé always end with e. This is an E with an accent aigu. For example, elle a mangé la glace. Elle is the subject, a is the avoir auxiliary verb, and manger is the verb with the correct ending. IR verbs in the passé composé. Regular IR verbs in the passé composé always end with I. For example, j'ai fini le quiz. The subject is je from the j'ai. AI from j'ai becomes the avoir auxiliary verb, and the verb with the correct ending is fini. Avoir in the je form becomes j'ai to create a liaison. RE verbs in the passé composé. Regular RE verbs in the passé composé always end with U. For example, nous avons perdu notre livre. The subject is nous, the avoir auxiliary verb is avons, and the verb with the correct ending is perdu. Now that you have acquired the skills you need, let's practice conjugating in the passé composé. Number 1. Je, aimer, infinitive, la nourriture. Number 2. Tu, perdre, infinitive, ton déjeuner. Number 3. Elle choisit, infinitive, la robe rouge. Number 4. Nous finit, infinitive, notre pizza. Number 5. Vous attendre, infinitive, pour votre famille. Number 6. Il dansait, infinitive, avec moi. Conjugating verbs in the future tense. In order to conjugate verbs in the future tense, you must know how to conjugate aller. It is je vais, tu vas, il, elle, on va, nous allons, vous allez, and ils, elles vont. All regular verbs are conjugated the same way in the future tense: ER, IR, and RE ending verbs. For example, je vais manger des fruits. Je is the subject, vais is the conjugated aller, and manger is verb and infinitive. Now that you've acquired the skills you need, let's practice. Tu cuisiner in the infinitive form, au restaurant. Elle dessiner, infinitive, les photos. And vous allez, infinitive, à la piscine.